A year ago, I found abnormal bruises on my sister's body, and her body was decaying as if it had been sucked dry. It was not until she died that I saw the truth in the diary. One piece of paper was stuffed under the crack of the toilet door, and 2 sentences were inexplicably written on the paper. Don't accept birthday gifts. Don't participate in physical education class. I looked out suspiciously, but there was no one outside, so I returned home as usual. As soon as I opened the door, my mother was standing upright in the middle of the room, turning her head to smile at me. I was stunned, and I felt something was wrong. At this time, there was a sound of knives rubbing in the kitchen, and in a blink of an eye, my father walked out of the kitchen with a knife, with a hideous and exaggerated smile on his face. But I knew this was impossible. Since divorcing my mother, he has never returned here. Seeing me, my mother held the cake and sang to me mechanically and woodenly, "Happy birthday to you." But the toneless singing only made me feel unprecedented fear. "Baby, your birthday present." She held a metallic box. When the box was opened, I saw the sneakers that I had longed for in my heart. The brand new logo was attached to the heel of the shoes, and the streamlined, sporty feeling was so attractive to me. Obviously, I gave a rejection command in my mind, but my hand had already taken the gift. "Baby, do you like it? Can our family be together happily forever?" Dad picked up the knife and cut a piece of cake, but his movements were too stiff. The cake was chopped into pieces, and the splashed cream splashed on my mother's face. But she didn't care at all, and the smile on her face didn't move. It seems that something is bewitching me here. It seems that it knows that I long for my parents to reunite, and also knows my desire. I heard my mother's excited and strange urging behind my ear, "Baby, if you accept the gift, you should go to school well." I turned my head and saw that it was already dawn outside the window, but the watch on my wrist was still at 8 o'clock in the evening. Everything in the house was the same as before, but the reality was completely opposite. For example, the 2 people who were originally separated did not divorce here, and even prepared a birthday cake for me, and knew what gift I wanted. Another example, today is June 9, but the calendar says September 6th, so it just happened to be my birthday. I had no choice but to rush to the street in a panic. Although my strong intuition told me that I must not go to school, no matter which direction I ran, I would eventually come to school. Just when I was distracted, I walked into the classroom by some strange force. The curtains, blackboards, desks and chairs seemed smaller, like miniature versions seen in a huge rearview mirror. Looking at them for a long time made me feel dizzy. My deskmate, contrary to his usual behavior, started to memorize English words seriously. When the bell rang, the head teacher came in with the dark back hair and announced that all the classes this morning would be changed to self-study classes. On the eve of the college entrance examination, teachers of various subjects raced against time to analyze the test papers, correct wrong questions, and explain the real questions. How could they ignore us and let us study on our own for the whole morning? At this time, I was almost certain that I had never escaped from this world. The head teacher, standing on the podium, turned his neck and said to us, "Today's self-study class will be in charge of the class monitor." As soon as he left, the classmates cheered and laughed in the classroom. But these noisy laughters seemed absurd and weird to me, because they were too unrealistic. "Please pay attention to classroom discipline." A voice suddenly appeared, but it was extremely strange. I followed the voice and found the person. She was a short-haired girl, with bangs covering half of her eyes. Her face was extremely pale, but her lips were too red. "Since the teacher is not here, why not use multimedia to play a movie?" she said to herself, and I thought no one would pay attention to her, but then someone went up and did it. Something was wrong. I realized that there was no such girl in our class, but my deskmate was like a wooden lump, keeping the same posture, staring at English words with his eyes straight, and muttering something. The atmosphere gradually became strange from the beginning of the movie. Except for the female student who claimed to be the class monitor with flexible eyes, the rest lost consciousness like puppets. They all raised their heads mechanically, staring at the changing pictures of the movie, but there was no expression on their faces, and their eyes were empty, just like my parents at home. Did they encounter the same situation as me? The female monitor smiled wildly at everyone, her mouth wide open, revealing her white teeth. What do you want to do after watching the movie? At this time, the bell rang. Everyone continued to look up and watch the movie as if they didn't hear it. This made me want to escape, but as soon as I stood up, I looked straight at the monitor's sinister smile. Classmate, how can you still move? She walked towards me, her expression becoming more and more ferocious. I broke out in cold sweat on my palms and soles, and my pupils shrank in fear. At this time, a voice suddenly exploded in my ears. Run! Don't let her catch you. I didn't have time to think about who the voice was, and I ran away. Hiss! Ha! The female monitor's breathing became rapid, but the sound of ha was always in my ears. She caught up. I rushed out of the corridor, but there were closed classrooms all around, and I had nowhere to hide. Soon, I rushed to the end of the corridor, fell into the suffocating darkness, and passed out. When I woke up again, I was back in that weird classroom. Compared with just now, I felt that my willpower and self-awareness were limited, and even my slow and sluggish movements were almost the same as the puppets around me. But I knew very well that I couldn't be controlled by her. The meaningless snowflakes flashed on the multimedia screen in a loop, and the movie had ended a long time ago. And the voice of the female monitor seemed to flash a hint of gloom. Maybe you must hate the physical education class that was replaced by the exam. At this time, the note flashed in my mind. Don't participate in physical education class.